What is up, everybody? JT Dangerously here once again. I am here to do my Week 11 college football predictions. Now, with Week 10 in the books, we are now into Week 11 of the college football season. So I am extremely excited to do my Week 11 college football predictions for you guys, and I hope you guys do enjoy. Now, our record in Week 10 was pretty damn good. We went 30-10, so we're coming in extremely hot, and I am looking to keep it that way. So hopefully in this video, we will continue the winning ways. We're on a 10-week winning streak. Hopefully in this video, we make it 11 weeks in a row. Hopefully. Now, this is the first video of a combined 2-video day on the channel today, guys. So I hope you guys will be able to watch this video and all the fantastic videos we got on deck on the channel on this huge month of November this year. And as always, show your support in the channel as always, guys, by watching these videos. Super kicking those like buttons, hitting that notification bell, and commenting your picks, your opinions, and representing your college football teams in the comment sections down below. Now, if this is your first time watching my channel today, guys, as a first-time viewer, and this is your first video, boy, big to go in if you're a huge fan of college football like myself, and you're ready for Week 11 of the college football season. Welcome to the Dangerous Alliance. I'm JT Dangerously. Welcome to the club, because this club is just two. Whoop, whoop. Again, thank you guys so very much. Now, other than that, let's get right into my Week 11 college football predictions. Let's start off on Tuesday night with a MAC East rivalry showdown known as the Battle of the Bricks between the Ohio Bobcats heading to Oxford, Ohio to face the Miami of Ohio Redhawks. Now, this is the 98th meeting between Ohio and Miami of Ohio. Miami of Ohio leads the all-time series 54-41-2. Now, the Bobcats won last year's meeting over the Redhawks, and the Redhawks are looking to defeat the Bobcats for the first time since 2019. Now, both teams are coming out very different Week 10s. Ohio's coming off their victory on Tuesday over Buffalo, coming in at 6-3, and Miami of Ohio's coming off their bye week. They're coming in at 4-5. So, coming from me in this MAC East rivalry showdown and the Battle of the Bricks on Tuesday night, I am going to go with the Ohio Bobcats to get it done on the road and defeat the Miami of Ohio Redhawks. And now the next matchup, which happens on Friday night. It is an American Athletic Conference rivalry showdown between the East Carolina Pirates heading to Cincinnati, Ohio to face the Cincinnati Bearcats. Now, this is the 26th meeting between East Carolina and Cincinnati. East Carolina leads the series 13-12. Now, the Bearcats have won the last 4 meetings over the Pirates, and the Pirates are looking to finally defeat the Bearcats for the first time since 2017. Now, both teams are coming out very different Week 10s. East Carolina is coming off their bye week. They're coming in at 6-3, and Cincinnati is coming off their victory on Saturday over Navy, coming in at 7-2. So, coming from me in this American Athletic Conference rivalry showdown on Friday night, I am going to go with the Cincinnati Bearcats to get it done at home and defeat the East Carolina Pirates. And now the next matchup on Friday night. It is a Pac-12 rivalry showdown between the Colorado Buffaloes heading to the LA Coliseum to face the USC Trojans. Now, this is the 16th meeting between Colorado and USC. The Trojans have won the last 15 meetings over the Buffaloes, dating all the way back to 1927. So the Trojans have owned this rivalry for 95 long years. Now, both teams are coming out very different Week 10s in the Pac-12 Conference. Colorado's coming off their loss to Oregon on Saturday, coming in at a rough 1-8, and USC's coming off their victory on late Saturday night over Cal on Saturday, coming in at 8-1. So, coming from me in this Pac-12 rivalry showdown on Friday night, I am going to go with Caleb Williams, Lincoln Riley, and the USC Trojans to get it done at home and defeat the Colorado Buffaloes in a potential blowout. And now the Saturday slate, starting off with a Conference USA rivalry showdown known as the Shula Bowl between the Florida Atlantic Owls heading to Miami, Florida to face the Florida International Golden Panthers. Now, this is the 21st meeting between Florida Atlantic and Florida International. Florida Atlantic leads the all-time series 15-4. Now, the Owls have won the last 5 meetings over the Golden Panthers, dating all the way back to 2017, and the Golden Panthers are looking to finally defeat the Owls for the first time since 2016. Now, both teams are coming out very different Week 10s. Florida Atlantic's coming out their bye week, coming in at 4-5, and Florida International is coming off their loss to North Texas on Saturday, coming in also at 4-5. So, coming from me in this Conference USA rivalry showdown to see who will win this year's Shula Bowl, I am going to go with the Florida Atlantic Owls to get it done on the road and get back to 500 and defeat the Florida International Golden Panthers. And now next matchup. It is a Big Ten East rivalry showdown between the Rutgers Scarlet Knights heading to East Lansing, Michigan to face the Michigan State Spartans. Now this is the 14th meeting between Rutgers and Michigan State. Sparty leads the all-time series 9-4. Now Sparty won last year's meeting over the Scarlet Knights, and the Scarlet Knights are looking to defeat Sparty for the first time in 2 years. Now both teams are coming out very different Week 10s in the Big Ten Conference. Rutgers is coming off their loss on Saturday to Michigan, coming in at 4-5, and Michigan State's coming off their huge huge victory over Illinois on Saturday, also coming in at 4-5. So coming from me in this Big Ten East rivalry showdown between these two 4-5 squads looking to get back to 500 with a victory, I am going to go with Peyton Thorne and the Michigan State Spartans to get it done at home and get back to 500 and defeat the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. And now the next matchup. It is an American Athletic Conference rivalry showdown between the SMU Mustangs heading to Tampa, Florida to face the South Florida Bulls. Now this is the 7th meeting between SMU and USF. The series is tied 3-3. Now the Mustangs have won the last 2 meetings over the Bulls dating back to 2019 and last year, and the Bulls are looking to finally defeat the Mustangs for the first time since 2016. Now both teams are coming out very different Week 10s in the American Athletic Conference. SMU is coming off their huge victory over Houston on Saturday where Tanner Mordecai had 10 total touchdowns, 9 in the air, 1 on the ground. And South Florida is coming off their loss to Temple on Saturday, coming in at a rough 1-8. So coming from me in this American Athletic Conference rivalry showdown, I am going to go with Tanner Mordecai and the SMU Mustangs to get it done on the road and get bowl eligible and defeat the South Florida Bulls. And now next matchup. It is an ACC Coastal rivalry showdown between the Miami Hurricanes, aka the U, heading to Atlanta to face the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Now this is the 27th meeting between Miami and Georgia Tech. The series is tied 13-13. Now the U won last year's meeting over the Yellow Jackets, and the Yellow Jackets are looking to defeat the Hurricanes for the first time since 2019. Now both teams are coming out very different Week 10s in the ACC Conference. Miami's coming off the loss to Florida State on Saturday, coming in at 4-5, and Georgia Tech's coming off their victory over Virginia Tech on Saturday, coming in also at 4-5. So coming from me in this ACC Coastal rivalry showdown between these two 4-5 squads looking to get back to 500 with a victory, I am going to go with Tyler Van Dyke and the U to rebound and bounce back on the road and get back to 500 and defeat the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets in a close one. And now next matchup. It is a huge American Athletic Conference rivalry showdown, one of the big games in Week 11 of the college football season between the UCF Knights heading to New Orleans, Louisiana to face the Green Wave of Tulane. Now this is the 12th meeting between UCF and Tulane. UCF leads the old-time series 9-2. Now the Knights have won the last 4 meetings over the Green Waves, dating all the way back to 2016, and the Green Wave are looking to finally defeat the Knights for the first time since 2015. Now both teams are coming out very good Week 10s in the American Athletic Conference. UCF is coming off their victory over Memphis on Saturday, coming in at 7-2, and Tulane's coming off their victory over Tulsa on Saturday, coming in at an impressive 8-1. So coming from me in this huge American Athletic Conference rivalry showdown, one of the big games in Week 11 of the college football season, I am going to go with my good friend Scott Weeks in Sports and his UCF Knights to pull off the upset here and get it done on the road and defeat the Tulane Green Wave in a close shootout. And now next matchup. It is a Pac-12 rivalry showdown between the Arizona Wildcats heading to Pasadena, California to face the UCLA Bruins. Now this is the 47th meeting between Arizona and UCLA. UCLA leads the all-time series 27-17-2. Now the Bruins have won the last 2 meetings over the Wildcats back in 2020 and last year, and the Wildcats are looking to defeat the Bruins for the first time since 2019. Now both teams are coming out very different Week 10s in the Pac-12 Conference. Arizona's coming off their loss on Saturday night to Utah, coming in at 3-6, and UCLA's coming off their victory on Saturday night, defeating Arizona State, coming in at an impressive 8-1. So coming from me in this Pac-12 rivalry showdown, I am going to go with Dorian Thompson-Robinson, DTR, Chip Kelly, and the UCLA Bruins to get it done at home and defeat the Arizona Wildcats in a potential blowout. And now next matchup. It is another Pac-12 rivalry showdown between the Cal Golden Bears heading to Corvallis, Oregon to face the Oregon State Beavers. Now this is the 75th meeting between Cal and Oregon State. Cal leads the all-time series 39-35. Now the Golden Bears won last year's meeting over the Beavers, and the Beavers are looking to defeat the Golden Bears for the first time in 2 years. Now both teams are coming out very bad Week 10s in the Pac-12 Conference. Cal's coming off their loss on Saturday night to USC, coming in at 3-6, and Oregon State's coming off their loss to Washington on Friday night, coming in at 6-3. So coming from me in this Pac-12 rivalry showdown, I am going to go with the Oregon State Beavers to rebound and bounce back at home and defeat the Cal Golden Bears in a close one. And our next matchup, it is an ACC Coastal rivalry showdown between the Virginia Tech Hokies heading to Durham, North Carolina to face the Duke Blue Devils. Now this is the 30th meeting between Virginia Tech and Duke. Virginia Tech leads the all-time series 19-10. Now the Hokies have won the last two meetings over the Blue Devils back in 2020 and last year, and the Blue Devils are looking to defeat the Hokies for the first time since 2019. Now both teams are coming out very different week 10s in the ACC Conference. Virginia Tech is coming off the loss to Georgia Tech on Saturday, coming in at a rough 2-7, and Duke is coming off their victory on Friday night over Boston College, coming in at 6-3. So coming from me in this ACC Coastal rivalry showdown, I am going to go with the Duke Blue Devils to get it done at home and defeat the Virginia Tech Hokies in a close one. And our next matchup, it is a Pac-12 rivalry showdown between the Stanford Cardinal heading to Salt Lake City, Utah to face the Utah Utes. Now this is the 11th meeting between Stanford and Utah. Utah leads the all-time series 6-4. Now the Utes have won the last two meetings over the Cardinal back in 2018 and last year, and the Cardinal are looking to defeat the Utes for the first time since 2017. Now both teams are coming out very different week 10s in the Pac-12 Conference. Stanford is coming off their loss on Saturday night to Washington State, coming in at 3-6. And Utah's coming off their victory on Saturday night over Arizona, coming in at 7-2. So coming from me in this Pac-12 rivalry showdown, I am going to go with the Utah Utes to get it done at home and defeat the Stanford Cardinal. And our next matchup, it is an American Athletic Conference rivalry showdown between the Temple Owls heading to Houston, Texas to face the Houston Cougars. Now this is the 9th meeting between Temple and Houston. Houston leads the all-time series 7-1. Now the Cougars won last year's meeting over the Owls, and the Owls are looking to finally defeat the Cougars for the first time since 2018. Now both teams are coming out very different week 10s in the American Athletic Conference. Temple's coming off their victory over South Florida on Saturday, coming in at 3-6, and Houston's coming off their shootout loss to SMU on Saturday, coming in at 5-4. And their huge quarterback Clayton Tune had 7 touchdowns in that loss against SMU. So coming from me in this American Athletic Conference rivalry showdown, I do want to congratulate the Houston Astros for winning the World Series over the Philadelphia Phillies, so at least something's good happening in Houston right now. The Texans are having a rough season, but the Houston Cougars are having a good season. So I am going to go with Clayton Tune and the Houston Cougars to get it done at home and become bowl eligible and defeat the Temple Owls. And our next matchup, it is a Big 12 rivalry showdown between the Iowa State Cyclones heading to Stillwater, Oklahoma to face our hated rivals, the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Now this is the 57th meeting between Iowa State and Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State leads the all-time series 33-20-3. Now the Cyclones won last year's meeting over the Cowboys, and the Cowboys are looking to defeat the Cyclones for the first time in 2 years. Now both teams are coming out very different week 10s in the Big 12 Conference. Iowa State's coming off their victory over West Virginia on Saturday, coming in at 4-5, and Oklahoma State's coming off their embarrassing loss to Kansas on Saturday, coming in at 6-3. So coming from me in this Big 12 rivalry showdown, Hunter Decklers versus Spencer Sanders. This one's going to be good in the Big 12, but coming from me, I'm going to go with Spencer Sanders, Mike Gundy, and the Oklahoma State Cowboys to rebound and bounce back at home and defeat the Iowa State Cyclones in a shootout. And our next matchup, it is another Big 12 rivalry showdown between the Kansas State Wildcats heading to Waco, Texas to face the Baylor Bears. Now this is the 20th meeting between Kansas State and Baylor. Baylor leads the all-time series 10-9. Now the Bears have won the last 4 meetings over the Wildcats, dating all the way back to 2018, and the Wildcats are looking to finally defeat the Bears for the first time since 2017. Now both teams are coming out very different week 10s in the Big 12 Conference. Kansas State's coming off the loss to Texas on Saturday, coming in at 6-3, and Baylor's coming off their big victory over my Oklahoma Sooners on Saturday, coming in also at 6-3. So coming from me in this Big 12 rivalry showdown, I am going to go with the Baylor Bears to get it done at home and defeat the Kansas State Wildcats in a close shootout. And now next matchup, it is a Big 10 West rivalry showdown, and it's the battle for the Heartland Trophy between the Wisconsin Badgers heading to Iowa City, Iowa to face the Iowa Hawkeyes. Now this is the 96th meeting between Wisconsin and Iowa. Wisconsin leads the all-time series 49-44-2. Now the Badgers won last year's meeting over the Hawkeyes, and the Hawkeyes are looking to defeat the Badgers for the first time in 2 years. Now both teams are coming out very good week 10s in the Big 10 Conference. Wisconsin's coming off their victory over Maryland on Saturday, coming in at 5-4. And Iowa's coming off their beatdown victory over Purdue on Saturday, coming in also at 5-4. So coming from me in this Big 10 West rivalry showdown to see who will win this year's Heartland Trophy between these two 5-4 squads looking to become bowl eligible with a victory, I am going to go with the Wisconsin Badgers to get it done on the road and become bowl eligible and defeat the Iowa Hawkeyes in a close one. And now next matchup. It is a Big Ten East rivalry showdown between the Maryland Terrapins heading to Happy Valley to face the Penn State Nittany Lions. Now this is the 46th meeting between Maryland and Penn State. Penn State leads the all-time series, folks, 41-3-1. Now the Nittany Lions won last year's meeting over the Terrapins, and the Terps are looking to defeat the Nittany Lions for the first time in 2 years. Now both teams are coming out very different Week 10s in the Big Ten Conference. Maryland's coming off the loss to Wisconsin on Saturday, coming in at 6-3, and Penn State's coming off their victory over Indiana on Saturday, coming in at 7-2. So coming from me in this Big Ten East rivalry showdown, this one's going to be a good one, especially with the two quarterbacks, Tallulah Tagovailoa for the Maryland Terrapins versus Sean Clifford for Penn State. This one's going to be good in the Big Ten East. But coming from me, I'm going to go with Sean Clifford and the Penn State Nittany Lions to get it done at home and defeat the Maryland Terrapins in a close shootout. We are Penn State. And now next matchup. It is an ACC Atlantic rivalry showdown between the Boston College Eagles heading to Raleigh, North Carolina to face the North Carolina State Wolfpack. Now this is the 19th meeting between Boston College and NC State. Boston College leads the all-time series 10-8. Now NC State won the last meeting over the Eagles last year, and the Eagles are looking to defeat the Wolfpack for the first time since 2019. Now both teams are coming out very different Week 10s in the ACC Conference. Boston College is coming off a loss on Friday night to Duke, coming in at 2-7, and NC State's coming off their big victory over Wake Forest on Saturday, coming in at 7-2. So coming from me in this ACC Atlantic rivalry showdown, I am going to go with the North Carolina State Wolfpack to get it done at home and defeat the Boston College Eagles. And now next matchup. It is a Pac-12 rivalry showdown between the Arizona State Sun Devils heading to Pullman, Washington to face the Washington State Cougars. Now this is the 47th meeting between Arizona State and Washington State. Arizona State leads the old-time series 28-16-2. Now the Cougars won last year's meeting over the Sun Devils, and the Sun Devils are looking to defeat the Cougars for the first time since 2019. Now both teams are coming out very different Week 10s in the Pac-12 Conference. Arizona State's coming off the loss on Saturday night to UCLA, coming in at 3-6, and Washington State's coming out their victory on Saturday over Stanford, coming in at 5-4 with a victory away from bowl eligibility. So coming from me in this Pac-12 rivalry showdown, I am going to go with Cam Ward and Old Crimson, the Washington State Cougars, to get it done at home and become bowl eligible and defeat the Arizona State Sun Devils. And now next matchup. It is an SEC East rivalry showdown between the Vanderbilt Commodores heading to Lexington, Kentucky to face the Kentucky Wildcats. Now this is the 95th meeting between Vanderbilt and Kentucky. Kentucky leads the old-time series 48-42-4. Now the Wildcats have won the last 6 meetings over the Commodores dating all the way back to 2016, and the Commodores are looking to finally defeat the Wildcats for the first time since 2015. Now both teams are coming out very different Week 10s in the SEC. Vanderbilt's coming off the loss to South Carolina on Saturday, coming in at 3-6, and Kentucky's coming off their narrow victory over Missouri on Saturday, coming in at 6-3. So coming from me in this SEC East rivalry showdown, I am going to go with Will Levis, Mark Stoops, and the Kentucky Wildcats to get it done at home and defeat the Vanderbilt Commodores. And now next matchup. It is an ACC Atlantic rivalry showdown between the Florida State Seminoles heading to Syracuse, New York to face the Orangemen of Syracuse. Now this is the 15th meeting between Florida State and Syracuse. Florida State leads the all-time series, folks, 12-2. Now the Seminoles have won the last 2 meetings over the Orangemen back in 2019 and last year, and the Orangemen are looking to finally defeat the Seminoles for the first time since 2018. Now both teams are coming out very different Week 10s in the ACC. Florida State's coming off their big victory over their rival Miami on Saturday, coming in at 6-3, and Syracuse is coming off their 3rd loss in the last 3 weeks, losing to Pitt on Saturday, coming in also at 6-3. So coming from me in this ACC Atlantic rivalry showdown, I am going to go with Jordan Travis and the Florida State Seminoles to get it done on the road and defeat the Orangemen of Syracuse in a close offensive shootout. And now next matchup. It is a Big Ten rivalry showdown between the Nebraska Cornhuskers heading to Ann Arbor to face the undefeated Michigan Wolverines. Now this is the 12th meeting between Nebraska and Michigan. Michigan leads the old-time series 6-4. 4-1. Now, the Wolverines have won the last 2 meetings over the Cornhuskers back in 2018 and last year, and the Cornhuskers are looking to finally defeat the Wolverines for the first time since 2013. Now, both teams are coming out very different Week 10s in the Big Ten Conference. Nebraska's coming off the loss to Minnesota on Saturday, coming in at 3-6, and Michigan's coming off another big victory on Saturday, defeating Rutgers, coming in undefeated at 9-0. So, coming from me in this Big Ten rivalry showdown, I am going to go with J.J. McCartney, Jim Harbaugh, and the undefeated Michigan Wolverines to get it done at home and get to 10-0 and defeat the Nebraska Cornhuskers in a potential blowout. And now next matchup, it is a Big 12 rivalry showdown between my Oklahoma Sooners heading to Morgantown, West Virginia to face the West Virginia Mountaineers. Now this is the 14th meeting between Oklahoma and West Virginia. Oklahoma leads the old-time series, folks, 11-2. Now my Sooners have won the last 9 meetings over the Mountaineers, dating all the way back to 2012, and the Mountaineers are looking to defeat my Sooners for the first time since the 2008 Fiesta Bowl, in which Geno Smith was the quarterback at West Virginia back then. Now both teams are coming off very rough Week 10s in the Big 12 Conference. My Sooners are coming off a heartbreaking loss to Baylor on Saturday, coming in at 5-4, and West Virginia is coming off their loss to Iowa State on Saturday, coming in at 3-6. So coming from me in this Big 12 rivalry showdown, this one's a tough pick. West Virginia has given TCU a run for their money before falling short. So West Virginia is a no-joke team that you should not underestimate. But coming from me, I'm going to go with Dillon Gabriel, Brent Venables, and my Oklahoma Sooners to rebound and bounce back on the road and become bowl eligible and defeat the West Virginia Mountaineers in a bowling shoe ugly slobber knocker. Boomer Sooner. And now next matchup, it is an ACC Atlantic rivalry showdown between the Louisville Cardinals heading to Death Valley in Columbia, South Carolina to face the Clemson Tigers. Now this is only the 8th meeting between Louisville and Clemson. The Tigers have won the last 7 meetings over the Cardinals, dating all the way back to 2014. So the Tigers have owned this rivalry for 8 long years. Now both teams are coming out very different. Week 10s, Louisville's coming off their victory over James Madison on Saturday, coming in at 6-3, and Clemson's coming off their first loss of the season in an embarrassing fashion, getting spanked by the Notre Dame Fighting Irish on Saturday, coming in at 8-1. So coming from me in this ACC Atlantic rivalry showdown, this one's going to be a good one in the ACC Atlantic. I mean, you got Malik Cunningham versus DJ Anuglowe. I can never say this dude's last name, but he's a fantastic quarterback for Clemson. But coming from me, I'm going to go with Dabo and the Clemson Tigers to rebound and bounce back at home and defeat the Louisville Cardinals in a shootout. And now next matchup, it is the battle for the Rip Miller Trophy between the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame heading to Annapolis to face the Midshipmen of Navy. Now this is the 95th meeting between Notre Dame and Navy. Notre Dame leads the old-time series 78-13-1. Now the Fighting Irish have won the last 4 meetings over the Midshipmen, dating all the way back to 2017, and the Midshipmen are looking to defeat the Fighting Irish for the first time since 2016. Now both teams are coming out very different Week 10s. Notre Dame's coming off their huge statement win, ending Clemson's undefeated reign by defeating them on Saturday, coming in at 6-3, and Navy's coming off their loss on Saturday to Cincinnati, coming in at 3-6. So coming from me in this battle for the Rip Miller Trophy, the Notre Dame team we saw beat Clemson was the Notre Dame team I've been waiting to see this whole season. Yes, they beat Syracuse and they beat Clemson. So those are 2 big victories for Notre Dame this season. But let's see what they can do against the Midshipmen of Navy. So I am going to go with the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame to get it done on the road and defeat the Navy Midshipmen in a potential blowout. And now next matchup, it is a Big 12 rivalry showdown between the Kansas Jayhawks heading to Lubbock, Texas to face the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Now this is the 24th meeting between Kansas and Texas Tech. Texas Tech leads the old-time series, folks, 21-2. Now the Red Raiders have won the last 2 meetings over the Jayhawks dating back to 2020 and last year, and the Jayhawks are looking to finally defeat the Red Raiders for the first time since 2019. Now both teams are coming out very different Week 10s in the Big 12 Conference. Kansas is coming off their huge victory over Oklahoma State on Saturday, coming in at 6-3, and Texas Tech is coming off the loss to undefeated TCU on Saturday, coming in at 4-5. So coming from me in this Big 12 rivalry showdown, I am going to go with the Kansas Jayhawks to get it done on the road and defeat the Texas Tech Red Raiders in a shootout. Rock Chalk, Jayhawk. And now next matchup, it is a Big Ten West rivalry showdown, and it's the battle for the Purdue Cannon between the Purdue Boilermakers heading to Champlain, Illinois, that face the Illinois Fighting Illini. Now this is the 98th meeting between Purdue and Illinois. Purdue leads the all-time series 46, 45, and 6. Now the Boilermakers have won the last two meetings over the Fighting Illini back in 2020 and last year, and the Illini are looking to finally defeat the Boilermakers for the first time since 2019. Now both teams are coming out very rough Week 10s in the Big Ten Conference. Purdue's coming off the loss to Iowa on Saturday, coming in at 5-4, and Tommy DeVito and the Fighting Illini are coming off the loss to Michigan State on Saturday, coming in at 7-2. So coming from me in this Big Ten West rivalry showdown and the battle for the Purdue Cannon, this one should be good. You got Aiden O'Connell for Purdue versus Tommy DeVito, a.k.a. Tommy D, baby, and the Fighting Illini of Illinois. This one's going to be good in the Big Ten West. But coming from me, I'm going to go with Tommy DeVito, a.k.a. Tommy D, baby, and Gamers Goons Fighting Illini of Illinois to rebound and bounce back at home and defeat the Purdue Boilermakers. Fight, Illini, fight! And now next matchup, it is an ACC rivalry showdown between the ACC Coastal leading North Carolina Tar Heels heading to Winston-Salem, North Carolina to face the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. Now this is the 110th meeting between North Carolina and Wake Forest. North Carolina leads the all-time series 71, 36-2. Now the Tar Heels have won the last two meetings over the Demon Deacons back in 2020 and last year, and the Demon Deeks are looking to defeat the Tar Heels for the first time since 2019. Now both teams are coming out very different Week 10s in the ACC. North Carolina is coming off their victory over Virginia on Saturday, coming in at an impressive 8-1, and Wake Forest is coming off the loss to North Carolina State on Saturday, coming in at 6-3. So coming from me in this ACC rivalry showdown, I am going to go with the leading ACC Colts team, the North Carolina Tar Heels Mac Brown squad, getting it done on the road and defeat the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. And now next matchup, it is a Big Ten East rivalry showdown between the Indiana Hoosiers heading to Columbus, Ohio to face the undefeated Ohio State Buckeyes. Now this is the 95th meeting between Indiana and Ohio State. Ohio State leads the all-time series 77, 12, and 5. Now listen to this, folks. The Buckeyes have won the last 26 meetings over the Hoosiers, dating all the way back to 1991, and the Hoosiers are looking to finally defeat the Buckeyes for the first time, folks, since 1988, 34 years ago. Now, both teams are coming off very different Week 10s in the Big Ten Conference. Indiana's coming off the loss to Penn State on Saturday, coming in at 3-6, and Ohio State's coming off their victory over Northwestern on Saturday, coming in undefeated at 9-0. So, coming from me in this Big Ten East rivalry showdown, I am going to go with C.J. Stroud and OHIO, the Ohio State Buckeyes, to get it done at home and remain undefeated and hit 10-0 and defeat the Indiana Hoosiers. OHIO. And now next matchup, it is an SEC West rivalry showdown, and it's the battle for the Golden Boot between the leading SEC West team, the LSU Tigers, heading to Fayetteville, Arkansas, that face the Arkansas Razorbacks. Now this is the 68th meeting between LSU and Arkansas. LSU leads the all-time series, folks, 42, 23, and 2. Now the Hogs won last year's meeting over the Tigers, and the Tigers are looking to defeat the Hogs for the first time in 2 years. Now LSU is coming off their huge victory on Saturday night in Death Valley, defeating the Alabama Crimson Tide after Brian Kelly went balls deep, and he went for 2 in overtime and got it done. And LSU is right now in first place in the SEC West, coming in at 7-2. Now Arkansas is coming off their loss to Liberty on Saturday, coming in at 5-4, and the Hogs are looking to rebound and bounce back at home. So coming from me in this SEC West rivalry showdown and the battle for the Golden Boot, the way that LSU won that game on a 2-point conversion instead of just going for the field goal and going into double overtime, that is pretty damn ballsy on Brian Kelly's part, and he got it done. So coming from me, I'm going to go with Brian Kelly and the SEC West leading LSU Tigers to get it done on the road and defeat the Arkansas Razorbacks. Go Tigers! And now next matchup, it is an Ivy League rivalry showdown between the Crimson of Harvard heading to Philadelphia to face the Pennsylvania Quakers. Now this is the 92nd meeting between Harvard and Penn. Harvard leads the all-time series 50, 39, and 2. Now the Crimson won last year's meeting over the Quakers, and the Quakers are looking to defeat the Crimson for the first time in 2 years. Now both teams are coming out very different Week 10s in the Ivy League. Harvard is coming off the loss to Columbia on Saturday, coming in at 5-3, and the Quakers are coming off their victory over Cornell on Saturday, coming in at an impressive 7-1. So coming from me in this Ivy League rivalry showdown, I am going to go with the Quakers of Pennsylvania to get it done at home and defeat the Crimson of Harvard. And now next matchup, it is a massive Big 12 rivalry showdown in which College Game Day will be at this game this Saturday morning between the undefeated TCU Horned Frogs heading to Austin to face the Texas Longhorns. Now this is the 93rd meeting between TCU and Texas. Texas leads the all-time series 64-27-1. Now the Longhorns won last year's meeting over the Horned Frogs, and the Horned Frogs are looking to defeat the Longhorns for the first time in 2 years. Now both teams are coming off very good Week 10s in the Big 12 Conference. TCU is coming off their victory over Texas Tech on Saturday, coming in undefeated at 9-0, and Texas is coming off their victory over Kansas State on Saturday, coming in at 6-3. So coming from me in this colossal Big 12 rivalry showdown, one of the big games in week number 11 of the college football season, in which College Game Day will be in Austin for the second time this year. This one's going to be a good one. I have a feeling this one's going to be a shootout. You got two fantastic quarterbacks in Max Duggan and Quinn Ellers. This one's going to be a good one in the Big 12, and it's going to see if Lee Corso. Hopefully, he will be back this week. He wasn't in Athens for Georgia and Tennessee last week. Hopefully, Lee Corso will be back with Dez, with Pat McAfee, with Kirk Herbstreit and Bear. This one's going to be good. But coming from me, TCU gets a lot of disrespect. I mean, this team is undefeated, yet Alabama was ahead of them in the college football playoff, which was just like, I'm sorry, Alabama has one loss, well now 2 losses, and TCU has been undefeated all season, and they've got big wins this season. So coming from me, I am going to go with Max Duggan and the undefeated TCU Horned Frogs to get it done on the road and get to 10-0 and defeat the Texas Longhorns in a shootout banger. And now next matchup, it is a Mountain West Conference rivalry showdown between my Boise State Broncos heading to Reno, Nevada to face the Nevada Wolfpack. Now this is the 45th meeting between Boise State and Nevada. Boise State leads the all-time series 30-14. Now the Wolfpack won last year's meeting over my Broncos, and my Broncos are looking to defeat the Wolfpack for the first time since 2018. Now both teams are coming out very different. Week 10s, Boise State's coming off their heartbreaking loss to BYU on Saturday, coming in at 6-3, and Nevada's coming off their bye week, coming in at a rough 2-7. So coming from me in this Mountain West Conference rivalry showdown, I am going to go with our rookie star quarterback Taylon Green and my Boise State Broncos to rebound and bounce back on the road and defeat the Nevada Wolfpack. And now next matchup, it is an SEC West rivalry showdown between the Texas A&M Aggies heading to Jordan-Hare to face the Auburn Tigers. Now this is the 13th meeting between Texas A&M and Auburn. Texas A&M leads the all-time series 7-5. Now the Aggies have won the last 2 meetings over the Tigers back in 2020 and last year, and the Tigers are looking to defeat the Aggies for the first time since 2019. Now both teams are coming out very rough Week 10s in the SEC. Texas A&M is coming off another loss on Saturday, losing to Florida, coming in at 3-6, and Auburn's coming off the loss in overtime to Mississippi State on Saturday, coming in also at 3-6. So coming from me in this SEC West rivalry showdown between these two 3-6 squads who are having a rough year this year, I am going to go with the Auburn Tigers to rebound and bounce back at home and defeat the Texas A&M Aggies. War Eagle! And now next matchup, it is an ACC Coastal rivalry showdown between the Pittsburgh Panthers heading to Charlottesville, Virginia to face the Virginia Cavaliers. Now this is the 14th meeting between Pittsburgh and Virginia. Pitt leads the all-time series 9-4. Now the Panthers won last year's meeting over the Cavaliers, and the Cavaliers are looking to defeat the Panthers for the first time since 2019. Now both teams are coming out very different Week 10s in the ACC. Pittsburgh is coming off their victory over Syracuse on Saturday, coming in at 5-4, and Virginia is coming off their loss to North Carolina on Saturday, coming in at 3-6. So coming from me in this ACC Coastal rivalry showdown, I am going to go with Pat Narduzzi and the Pitt Panthers to get it done on the road and become bowl eligible and defeat the Virginia Cavaliers in a close shootout. And now next matchup, it is an SEC East rivalry showdown between the South Carolina Gamecocks heading to the Swamp in Gainesville, Florida to face the Florida Gators. Now this is the 43rd meeting between South Carolina and Florida. Florida leads the all-time series 29-10-3. Now the Gamecocks won last year's meeting over the Gators, and the Gators are looking to defeat the Gamecocks for the first time in 2 years. Now both teams are coming out very good Week 10s in the SEC. South Carolina is coming off their victory over Vanderbilt on Saturday, coming in at 6-3, and Florida is coming off their victory over Texas A&M on Saturday, coming in at 5-4. So coming from me in this SEC East rivalry showdown, This one's going to be a good one. You got Spencer Rattler for South Carolina versus Anthony Richardson for Florida. This one's going to be good in the SEC East. But coming from me, I am going to go with Anthony Richardson and the Florida Gators to get it done at home and become bowl eligible and defeat the South Carolina Gamecocks in a close shootout. Chomp, chomp. And now next matchup. It is a huge SEC West rivalry showdown, one of the big games in week number 11 of the college football season between now the two-loss Alabama Crimson Tide heading to Oxford, Mississippi to face the Ole Miss Rebels. Now this is the 70th meeting between Alabama and Ole Miss. Alabama leads the old-time series 53-10-2. Now the Crimson Tide have won the last 6 meetings over the Rebels dating all the way back to 2016, and the Rebels are looking to defeat the Crimson Tide for the first time since 2015. Now Alabama's coming off their second loss of the season, losing on the road in Death Valley last night on Saturday night, losing to LSU, and right now Alabama's in panic mode because they have 2 losses. And making it to the college football playoff with 2 losses is very, very rare. And the fact that Alabama now needs a lot of help from, one, the committee, because we all know the committee just loves Alabama, and they're going to need a lot of help from some of the undefeated teams looking to lose. And Nick Saban, Bryce Young, and the Crimson Tide are looking desperately to rebound and bounce back on the road. The other side, you have the Ole Miss Rebels coming off their bye week. They're coming in at a very impressive 8-1, and the Rebels are looking to give Alabama the 3rd loss of the season and officially knock them out of the college football playoff with a victory at home. So coming from me in this huge SEC West rivalry showdown, one of the big games in week number 11 of the college football season, and it's the battle between Nick Saban and Lane Kiffin. This one's going to be good in the SEC West. I have a feeling this one's going to be a banger in the last SEC games we've seen Alabama play against Tennessee and then LSU on Saturday night. But coming from me, I just cannot see Nick Saban losing 3 games this season. I just cannot see it happening. So coming from me, I'm going to go with Nick Saban, Bryce Young, and the Alabama Crimson Tide to rebound and bounce back on the road and defeat the Ole Miss Rebels in a banger. Roll Tide! And now the next matchup. It is another huge game in week number 11 of the college football season coming out of the Pac-12 Conference, and it is known as the Border War between the Washington Huskies heading to Eugene, Oregon to face the Oregon Ducks. Now this is the 114th meeting between Washington and Oregon. Washington leads the old-time series 60-48-5. Now the Ducks have won the last 3 meetings over the Huskies dating all the way back to 2018, and the Huskies are looking to finally defeat the Ducks for the first time since 2017. Now both teams are coming out very good week 10s in the Pac-12 Conference. Washington's coming off their victory on Friday night over Oregon State, coming in at 7-2, and Oregon's coming off their victory over Colorado on Saturday, coming in at an impressive 8-1. So coming from me in this Pac-12 rivalry showdown to see who will win this year's Border War, that Alabama loss against LSU really helped Oregon out. And I know my good friend Gamers Goon, who is a diehard Oregon Ducks fan, is hopeful his Ducks can make the college football playoff. And I wouldn't be shocked coming into this week that the Oregon Ducks will be one of the 4 in the college football playoff top 4. But coming from me, Michael Penix Jr. versus Bo Nix. This one's going to be good, but coming from me, I am going to go with Bo Nix because Bo knows and the Oregon Ducks to get it done at home and defeat the Washington Huskies in an absolute banger. And now the final 2 matchups coming out of the SEC. Starting off with an SEC rivalry showdown, and it's the Battle of the Bulldogs between the reigning national champions and possibly the new #1 team in the college football playoff, the undefeated Georgia Bulldogs, heading to Starkville, Mississippi to face the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Now this is the 26th meeting between Georgia and Mississippi State. Georgia leads the old-time series 19-6. Now the Bulldogs of Georgia have got it done in the last 3 meetings over the Bulldogs of Mississippi State, dating all the way back to 2011, and Mississippi State is looking to defeat Georgia for the first time since 2010. Now both teams are coming off big wins in the SEC in Week 10. Georgia's coming off their statement win over Tennessee on Saturday, coming in undefeated at 9-0 and possibly the new #1 team in the college football playoff. And Mississippi State's coming off their victory over Auburn on Saturday in overtime, coming in at 6-3. So coming from me in this SEC rivalry showdown and the Battle of the Bulldogs, this one's going to be good. You got Stetson Bennett versus I think Will Rogers, right? I think Will Rogers is the quarterback for Mississippi State. If I'm wrong, let me know. But coming from me, I am going to go with Stetson Bennett and the possible new #1 team in the college football playoff, the reigning national champions, the undefeated Georgia Bulldogs, to get it done and get to 10-0 and remain undefeated and defeat the Mississippi State Bulldogs in a banger. Go Dogs! Sick 'em! And now the final matchup in Week 11, it is an SEC East rivalry showdown between the Missouri Tigers heading to old Rocky Top, Knoxville, Tennessee to face the former #1 team in the college football playoff, the Tennessee Volunteers. Now this is the 11th meeting between Missouri and Tennessee. The series is tied 5-5. Now the Volunteers have won the last 3 meetings over the Tigers. They go all the way back to 2019, and the Tigers are looking to defeat the Vols for the first time since 2018. Now both teams are coming off tough losses in week number 10 in the SEC. Missouri's coming off their heartbreaking loss to Kentucky on Saturday, coming in at 4-5, and Tennessee's coming off their first loss of the season, losing to Georgia on Saturday, coming in at 8-1. So coming from me in this SEC East rivalry showdown and the final matchup in week number 11 of the college football season, I am going to go with Professor Hendon Hooker and the Tennessee Volunteers to rebound and bounce back at home and defeat the Missouri Tigers in a close shootout. And those are my Week 11 college football predictions. Now I want to thank you guys so very much for watching this video today. Comment below. Who do you see winning in week number 11 of the college football season? Who do you think will be the new top 4 teams in the college football playoff? For me, it's going to be Georgia, it's going to be Michigan, hopefully TCU, and Oregon. But let me know what you guys think. And as always, represent your college football teams in the comment section. Even if they're having a rough year or having an amazing year, still represent them in the comment section. Let's have a conversation about it. Of course, I'm always on to see your comment, like it, and of course, reply right back to you because comments and your opinions are absolutely always welcome on this channel. Now, I do want to thank you guys so very much for watching my Week 11 college football predictions today. Again, thank you guys for all the support this whole year when it comes to college football on the channel. And again, thank you guys for all the support. Now, before you guys go, as always, you guys can never forget to do this. That like button, comment, share with your friends. Of course, super kick that like button like only you guys can. Of course, you guys can never forget to do this as well. That subscribe button, become part of this bigger and dangerous alliance. We are getting dangerously close to 1,100 subscribers. So if you guys are not subscribed to the channel yet, what are you guys waiting for? If you're a fan of professional wrestling when it comes to New Japan Pro Wrestling, All Elite Wrestling, the WWE and Ring of Honor, and you're a fan of professional sports when it comes to the NBA, the NHL, Major League Baseball, the NFL, and college football, super kick that subscribe button, folks. It's free and you become part of this bigger, dangerous alliance. And I will see you guys later tonight for my official Week 10 NFL predictions. Later days, guys. Stay dangerous and peace.